Rams Buccaneers. That'll be on NBC, 3 p.m. Eastern. Coverage begins at 2 o'clock Eastern. NBC and Peacock. Game also streams on Peacock. Leonard Fournette, a key member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, participated in portions of practice on Thursday. They need the running game. This is something that Sims was harping on yesterday, and I think he's 100% accurate. When the Buccaneers and Rams have gotten together the past two regular seasons, too much throwing from Tom Brady, a stubbornness when it comes to throwing and throwing. The Rams are a team that you can beat up front if you can run the ball effectively. Well, look at the 49ers did on the Monday night in the regular season when they manhandled and dismantled the Rams. And then Week 18, even when they were down 17-0, they kept running because that's where the weakness is in the Rams defense. You're not going to pass them into submission. You're going to run them into submission. So they need Fournette back. He's been out for several weeks now with a hamstring injury, Peter, but they desperately need him back and need him healthy.
You know what's interesting, Mike? I remember when Leonard Fournette got cut in late August of 2020. And I was like everybody else. Even though he had had a good year in 2019, I thought he was such damaged goods that I would have been surprised if anybody picked him up for any sort of prominent role. And right away, the Bucs wanted him. And he goes into the Bucs, and he still is kind of bitter about being cut. And he doesn't realize what he's walking into. And what he was walking into at first was a job share with Ronald Jones. But soon, everybody sees, by the end of the season, everybody sees he is not only a good running back, okay, but he is a battering ram. And no one really saw the full part of his game. You know, battering ram, running back, an excellent receiver out of the backfield. And when he pulled his hamstring, 6-8 weeks ago, I think that was really damaging to the Bucs' long-term chances. And I'm going to be very curious to watch on Sunday, A, what his workload is going to be, and B, does he look like Leonard Fournette? Does he look like a guy who can be the most important offensive weapon other than Tom Brady for the Bucs to get a return trip to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, and, the reality is this year Fournette morphed into one of Tom's guys. He had his guys, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette. Ronald Jones has been injured lately as well. They've relied on Keyshawn Vaughn in the running game. Le'Veon Bell's been kind of MIA, although when he plays, he looks like a shadow of what he once was. Gio Bernard, still a little banged up. He contributed some last weekend in the running game, but they just need somebody to move the chains and run between the tackles and take some of the steam out of the pass rush and just demoralize the Rams. They become demoralized if you can consistently run the ball and run the ball and run the ball, and that's what they need to do if they want to hold off a team that has beaten them each of the last two regular seasons. Now, they last played in Week 3, and the Rams have added pieces since then. Cam Akers they didn't have because he had torn his Achilles tendon in July just before the start of training camp. He's back. He's a difference maker when it comes to taking some of the heat off of Matthew Stafford. OBJ and Matthew Stafford are finding their rhythm. They're finding their groove, and that's helped the Rams in recent weeks. And Von Miller has settled in, realizing, hey, life is easy when I'm not the guy who's being double-teamed with a chip on my way to the quarterback because everyone's focused on Aaron Donald. So the Rams are better than they were when they beat Brady and the Buccaneers back in Week 3. And you look at some of the injuries and the changes and no AB. It's hard to say the Buccaneers are even as good as they were back in Week 3, Peter. But they still have Tom Brady, and single elimination time, everything is different for him.
Hey, look, the biggest thing for the Bucs now is the impact of the Tristan Wirfs injury. I think people sometimes get tired of listening to the discussion of, at times like this, battle of attrition, in the postseason. But it absolutely unequivocally is true. If you lose, or, the best right tackle in football, in my opinion, which is what Tristan Wirfs is, if you lose or he is damaged going into a game like this, particularly against a dangerous defensive front like the Rams have, I think that's when you're going to see some adjustments on the part of Tampa Bay. And that's why the running game becomes so important, because you really don't know if the time that Tom Brady is used to having throwing the ball, if he's going to have that on Sunday.
Well, you're right. And look, he has made it clear he knows where he's going to go with the ball before he even has it in his hands, but that guy still has to get open. And if the walls close in on him before the guy he wants to throw to is in a position where it can be thrown, what have we seen Tom Brady do in recent years? What did he do multiple times last year in the NFC Championship that helped open the door for the Packers to come back? When in doubt, when the heat is on, the ball gets thrown up into the air, and it's up for grabs. And there were multiple interceptions by the Packers last year, and that would have been regarded as one of the all-time great playoff meltdowns if the Packers had come back and won that game down 28-10, because it would have been fueled by Tom Brady's willingness to throw the ball up for grabs in order to avoid taking a hit to his then 43-year-old, now 44-year-old body. And look, hey, you know, this is a scary matchup for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I still give them the edge because nobody understands how to deal with the pressure. Nobody thrives on it. It's not even pressure anymore. It's familiar. It's like a pair of slippers that's been fully broken in. Tom Brady loves it. It's home for him. Whereas Matthew Stafford, this is the farthest he's ever advanced in his career that dates back to 2009. So I just think from the standpoint of nerves, the standpoint of comfort, the standpoint of who's going to settle in if it's close in the fourth quarter and take over, I give all those check marks to Tom Brady. But you got to get there. And this Rams team is good enough. And if I'm Sean McVay, what I'm trying to do is deliver the earliest possible knockout punch to the Buccaneers so I don't have to worry about Tom Brady in the fourth quarter.
Mike, you know, the other advantage to Tampa Bay really is the fact that the Rams played Monday night, going 2,900 miles across the country. And, you know, they've got those sort of edges, Tampa Bay does, possibly facing a little bit more of a tired team, you know, in this game. But I do think that once the game starts and the adrenaline starts, most of that, you know, is just frittered away. I think one of the important things for the Rams is not putting the entire game on Matthew Stafford's shoulders, is being able to run the ball, even if you're only going to be able to run it with a modicum of success against that Vita Vea-led defensive front of the Bucs. You simply can't put the ball in Stafford's hands 48 or 50 times and hope that you have a positive outcome, at least in my opinion. I just don't think that's the way this game is a winning formula for the Rams.
17 throws on Monday night for Matthew Stafford, the fewest of his career in any game that he did not leave early due to injury. That's amazing. Both he and Sean McVay said earlier this week it was just flow of the game, short fields, pick six. But having Cam Akers back, even though he didn't have gigantic numbers, having him back as a compliment for now to Sony Michel, but able to take over potentially a game like this and really provide balance. They were way out of balance, 38 runs and 17 Matthew Stafford passes on Monday night. And maybe they need something like that again because, you know, even though Stafford is a much better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, there's still that, what we've seen in recent weeks, that propensity to short circuit and serve up a pick six, even though he recovers from it well. You know, after that first half debacle in Baltimore, he was 14 for 14 in the second half. But you don't want to give the Buccaneers an unwarranted and unearned touchdown because there's an unforced error from Matthew Stafford. So that is one of the key things.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.